All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the next episode where we're going to be setting up the interface as well as the recording template. So when it comes to stuff like the DAW, a lot of the times people say, oh, one DAW is better than the other. If you're not recording in Pro Tools, it won't sound good. If you don't record in Logic, it won't sound professional. But that is not true. I kind of see the DAWs kind of like cars. It doesn't matter if you whip in the Honda Civic or you whip in the Mercedes Benz. At the end of the day, they're both going to do the job, which is to drive. But it's kind of similar to the DAWs where they're both going to do the job, which is record. It's all coming down to the workflow. You know, some DAWs, they're laid out a certain way than others, and you might feel more comfortable with that. So that's the most important thing. Use what you're comfortable with so you can have fun and you can have a good time recording. You know, all of these DAWs, they're colorless. You know what I mean? So if you put a good song into it, a good song is what's going to come out pretty much. Okay. So let's jump into this right away. Let's set up the actual recording session. So what I did is you'll go over here and you actually create like a folder. Go back to the same folder that we have for the whole song, and I'll call it something like rap files or whatever. Yeah. And then from there, we're creating our session. Make sure that you're on the right sample rate, which we remember from the last episode is 48K. And then the bit depth is 16. You can use whatever bit depth. Some people say, oh, they only want to use 24. It is what it is. Potato, potato, tomato, tomato. At the end of the day, we going to be in that DAW, rapping, having fun. That's the most important thing. You know what I mean? That's not going to influence you from rapping good or not. You know what I mean? Don't pay attention to that little stuff. Okay. And after that, let's go ahead and create the actual session file and everything like that before I show you guys how to set up the interface. So yeah, rap files and everything like that. And then we're going to create the session. So as Pro Tools is creating the session, you got to understand with the, with the recording, I feel like the best thing to have is a template. Now I actually have a lot of templates. If you guys want to go check out the template, I have free templates. I have some paid templates, whatever you guys want to do. I think getting something like a template is a very positive thing because it's a consistent starting point. Even if you just have your own template that you made for yourself from like, maybe you had a good song and then you just created your own template. But the main thing about the template is that it just lets you rap. You know what I mean? It just lets you rap. So, remembering from the very beginning, we bounced out our 2-track beat. So what we got to do is we got to actually drag and drop that into the session right now. So, first thing you always want to do is put in the tempo. That makes sure that like your delays and your reverbs are all locked to the grid. So, everything is musical and sounding in the way it should be, bumping and grooving. Then you want to drag it into the session. Now, the main thing about the beat is you got to understand like the basic kind of leveling. A lot of the beats already come in clipping at 0 VU just because that's what it is. The beats are loud and that's kind of how we want them to be when we're writing it and everything like that. But by the time we put it in a DAW, we got to create a little bit of headroom for ourselves because the vocals are going to be in there and everything like that. When we're just pretty much recording, we don't want to record too hot and everything, okay? So the 2-track beat itself, I like to level it out to exactly kind of like negative 18 dB. And the reason why I do that, you can use whatever number you want, but the thing about it is that I'm using Waves plugins, some of the analog model plugins, and that's kind of like where most analog plugins are modeled at, starting point of negative 18 dB. So that's where I like to start at. So I'll use like a trim plugin, or I'll even use Studio Rack, which is a free Waves plugin as well to go with your Waves plugins. And what I do is I pull out a VU meter and I make sure that the beat is hitting at about 0. Okay, so the VU is calibrated to 18, which is like negative 18, and I'm gonna pull it all the way down to 0. Okay, till it hits like 0. Now it's okay if it does go a little bit past the 0 mark and everything like that. It's nothing wrong with it if it goes past the 0 mark. It's okay. It's just that we kind of want it to be averaging around that that zero VU. And that's just because that's the starting place pretty much, I'm using analog model plugins and everything like that. And even when I record, I like to be at that level. That's just a consistent ballpark level. You can use whatever level you want. But for sure, like you probably want to, just to make it easier for yourself, pull out a VU start at 18 and pull it to 0. All right. So after that, let's look at how I actually like to set up like the recording type of situation. So I'm actually gonna be recording on a little Focusrite. Hey, you know, Nick gonna be recording on his little Focusrite and everything like that. So I'm gonna have a lot of fun. It's gonna be a good time, a good experience. Okay, so with the Focusrite, you know, I just want to show you guys, if you don't know how to plug in a microphone, and I want to talk about the preamp situation too. So, you know, you get your microphone. This is like a $200 microphone. This is a Warm Audio FET 47 Junior. Okay, that's a basic microphone that you can get off of Amazon or Sweetwater. What you do is you take an XLR cable, you plug it from the microphone, and you plug it inside of the interface. Oh wow, you know, who would have thought, you know? Yay. So after that, what you do is when you're on the interface, you want to make sure that you hit like the 48 volts of power. You know, this little button that's like right here and everything. I don't know if you guys can see it. And what's that's doing, that's kind of giving the juice to the microphone. Just like how a car needs gas, a microphone needs power for it to work and to record and everything like that. Okay, so the most important thing too I want to talk about is how hard do you like set this up, right? It's so funny. I actually had somebody who, you know, who hit me up. They hit me up asking for some help, but they tried to act like they knew everything like that, you know, guys. So you got to always understand, like, if you want to ask for help, you got to act like you don't know everything, you know what I mean? Because, you know, you gotta listen. If you want to be in class and learn something, you gotta listen. So the main thing is the person tried to say, oh, I could only record at like this level. Like, you see where the preamp is, like they turned the preamp all the way to the right and said, well, I can't hear anything. I can't hear anything. But the thing about it is when you push it all the way far to the right, you probably can't even see it. It doesn't even freaking matter. The most important thing is that you're gonna be distorting. You know, and sometimes people who have nice equipment, like nice preamps, you know, nice interfaces, they can do stuff like that. They can clip, you know what I mean? You think about it back to the example with the cars, you know, okay, you have a situation where this is kind of like a Honda Civic, or, you know, a higher end type of interface would be something like where it's a Benz. You know, when you in that Benz and you skirt off fast, and you drive it really hard, which is like driving the preamp. You drive it really hard. What's happening is that person in the Benz, they skirting off. Everybody's like, ooh, because it's giving a pleasant reaction. You know, the smoke is beautiful. The Benz is skirting off the lot. Everybody loves that. It's amazing. But imagine if you try to do that same thing in a beat up old Honda, dusty old Honda, you skirting off the lot in a nasty old little 1998 Toyota. People are gonna be like, oh, why is he doing that? The smoke is gonna be nasty. It's not gonna be a cool experience. So that's the thing about it. You know, certain type of equipment can be driven hard, just like how certain cars can be driven hard. And, you know, a basic start interface that usually you can't do that, you know, usually can't do that. Some designer preamps and stuff like that, you know, boutique stuff, you can drive it hard. But with this, you just got to understand that you can't hit this one hard. You know, usually what I do is I push the preamp note past like 25 or 30%, you know, like if you can imagine it had like a percentage and you're not pushing it past that point. And, you know, what I also do is I pull out a VU meter on my record track. So because I'm recording right now, I can't really like have it all set up and everything like that, but it's okay. Like when you're in your DAW, you know, just pull out a VU meter on your record track, set it up for -18, and it doesn't have to hit 0, but as long as it's kind of hitting like this medium range right here, then you'll be good, because at least you know that you're recording in that same ballpark where your beat is hitting at. So at least it's not going to be perfectly leveled. Of course, when you're mixing, you still have to level it and everything like that, of course, you know, but at least it's in the same ballpark. At least they're related. At least they live in the same neighborhood, you know, level wise. So you won't have to push it too hard. Versus if you record way too low, then you're going to have to try to push it with the compression, all that stuff like that. You're going to be introducing a lot of dirtiness. You're going to introduce a lot of dirtiness to the sound and everything like that. All right. So then let's talk about the last couple of things when it comes to setting up our session. So this is a very simple session. Look, this is one of my templates. Let's talk about the way the session looks. You see that? Like, this is actually one of my templates right here, where it's just so simple. You got to make it easy for yourself. So, you know, I have a basic vocal chain right here. I actually have a bunch of vocal chains, to be honest, but I'm going to be using my regular vocal chain, which is like, what is is it called? My utility chain. So you can just get a basic vocal chain, just a basic EQ, basic SSL, basic compression, everything so when I rap, I hear it good. You're gonna need a template because nobody records raw vocals. Like if you record raw vocals, I don't care who you is, it's gonna mess up the vibe. You're gonna be like, you're not gonna be inspired to go back in there and do the take a little bit better. When you hear everything sounding good immediately, it makes you feel good about yourself. So that's important to know too, having a template. So if you do guys want to check out one of my templates, go ahead and get it down below. I got some free templates too, so it don't really matter. And yeah, everything here is just very simple. We have a basic limiter just so I could, gain up everything. And let's look at the the interface as well. So you go to playback engine, and you would select something like your interface, which right here is going to be the Scarlett Solo USB, because I'm recording and everything like that, through YouTube, I can't really select it. But yeah, you would click the Scarlett Solo and try to make your buffer size as low as your computer can. That's better because, it's not going to be latency. If you put the buffer size too high, then it's going to be like a delay between when you lay the vocals down and the beat and you play it back and all that stuff like that. So yeah, that's pretty much it that I can also say right now. I also have my auto tune set up to the key of the music and everything like that. We'll go back and do that. But here's going to be the next fun part where we're going to actually be laying down the vocals, showing you how we lay down everything. So I'm really happy to do this course and everything like that. And let's just jump right into the next episode. Can't wait to see you there. All right.